Welcome to this service of worship at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. My name is Celeste Rogers, and I am your worship associate this morning. Our community is striving to become as varied as the blooms of the Sonoran Desert. Whoever you are, whoever you have been, and whoever you are becoming, I invite you to bring your whole self here now. A few housekeeping details first. There are 2 gender-specific bathrooms out the glass doors behind you and to your left, and there's also an accessible and gender-inclusive single-stall restroom in the alcove behind the AV desk. Even though we no longer require that masks be worn in worship or concurrent religious education, you are, of course, still welcome to wear a mask, especially if you are feeling sick. We would like you to. And we encourage you to join us from home on YouTube if you are not feeling well. As we worship today, let us always remain mindful of those desert people who came first to this place and whose land was stolen in successive acts of displacement and genocide. We honor the O'odham, the Yaqui, and the Apache. We also honor the Hohokam and the many other ancient indigenous peoples whose names are not known to us. As we move more deeply into the sacred space of worship, please know that you are indeed welcome here. Whether you walked in, rolled in, skipped, or shuffled in, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, whatever cultural and ethnic background you claim, whomever you love, however you identify your gender, and in whatever way you choose to express it, you are truly welcome here.
Good morning. That is loud. For those of you I haven't met, my name is Reverend Bethany Russell Lowe, and I serve as lead minister of this wonderful congregation. And I would love for us to acknowledge Jing, our guest pianist this morning, who's joining us. Thank you for being here, Jing. So good to have you here, filling in for our regular pianist, Danielle, who will be back next week soon, next week. And in case you haven't heard, today is our Stewardship Sunday. Woo-hoo! Yes, thank you. This is the public kickoff of our pledge campaign, which is our process for collecting your pledges. And by that, we mean your promises for what you can financially contribute to our church in the next year's budget. Our congregation runs on a July to June budget year just to keep you on your toes. And we collect your pledges for the church year that starts July this spring, so that our finance leaders can create a budget that is balanced for us to vote on at annual meeting in May. And for the past few weeks, your stewardship team and board of trustees have been conducting a quiet, grassroots, underground campaign to try to collect pledges from leaders and people active on committees. And we can say today that we've collected a really good number. We've already collected $80,000 in pledges, which is a really good start. But here's the more exciting thing. 3 of those pledges are totally new pledges. And of the continuing pledges, 80% of those people have raised their pledge. Amazing. Amazing. This is a really great start, but we need all of our members and those close friends to participate in the process the next few weeks. And here's the reality of next year's budget. It's a hard reality to face. If we want to keep our staffing levels and programming the exact same as they are this year, the exact same, we need to raise at least 10% more than this current year. 10% is a big number, but I think we can get there. If we want to grow and become even more of a force for love and hope and joy in these hard times, we will need to reach even further, 15 or 20%. I think there's a chart my AV team has here. Oh, keep going. That's a lovely thing, but keep going. 2 more. There we are. 1 more. Here we are. So here are the different levels, and I'll have the AV team leave this up for a little bit so you can read at 10, 15, and 20% in words what we could do with those pledge raises. So if you are able to this year, we hope you would consider joining that 80% of people who've already pledged and raise your pledge. If this is your first year pledging to UUCT, I encourage you to let this morning's service and the testimonials you'll hear over the course of this month inspire you to consider what amount of generosity matches the impact this community has on your lives and how that interacts with how much free money you have available, which is different for all of us. To submit your pledge, you can go to the stewardship table at social hour today. Craig will be there to receive your pledge, either digitally or in a pledge card. You can also go to our website, uuctucson.org, and there's a Pledge Now button right there for you to pledge right at the top. And for everyone here and on YouTube, after the service today, Frank Valdez, your Finance Committee Chair, is going to give a, listen, short and informative, very short, very informative look into what how we finance our staff programming and community and what that would look like in 25-26. We hope everyone will stay for this presentation, which will happen for 10 or 15 minutes right here, right after the last note of the postlude ends. You're gonna stay right in your seats, and to entice you to stay in your seats, we have cookies. Margot Newhouse baked cookies, and we have some gluten-free options for those of you who need that. So if you are willing to stay for the presentation and enjoy a cookie, 10 to 15 minutes, we promise, you're gonna stay right here. If you need to leave for some reason, or if your kids are getting antsy for some reason, you're welcome to leave during the postlude today. You're gonna get up and walk during the postlude if you would want to leave. As we enter into this Stewardship Sunday service, I offer these words from Alberto Rios called When Giving is All We Have. The epitaph is this: one river gives its journey to the next. We give because somebody gave to us. We give because nobody gave to us. We give because giving has changed us. We give because giving could have changed us. We have been better for it. We have been wounded by it. Giving has many faces. It is loud and quiet, big though small, diamond in wood nails. Its story is old, the plot worn and the pages too. But we read this book anyway, over and over. Giving is, first and every time, hand to hand, mine in yours, yours in mine. You gave me blue and I gave yellow. Together we are simple green. You gave me what you did not have, and I gave you what I had to give. Together we made something greater from the difference. Come, friends, let's worship together.
I invite you to join in saying our chalice lighting words. I'll say the first line on my own, and then we'll say the rest of the words together. Our Unitarian Universalist value of generosity says, we cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality.
I was on and turned myself off. May we respond in song? Would you please rise as you are able and sing Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire, hymn 34 in the Gray Hymnal. Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire and have not love, my words are vain as sounding brass. turn strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are free. Thank you.
Question for you this morning. When was the last time that joy was all you felt? I do want to know your answer to the question, but to be fair, I'll answer first. I was at a retreat a few weeks ago with some other Unitarian Universalist ministers from Arizona, Southern California, sometimes Las Vegas. We gathered together, as we do twice a year, to worship and learn, to support one another, to socialize, and yes, to commiserate sometimes. The past retreat was a heavy one, but not in the self-destructive or overwhelming way. Heavy in that through worship and learning and just talking to each other, we buoyed each other to the ground of our callings and our ministries. In the midst of all these storms, we buoyed each other. On more than one occasion, we found ourselves in this period of silence that we just held as if it was sacred, because we didn't want to leave the love and hope we had created together. Our souls just needed to dwell in that silence in order to eventually break it to face the reality of our world. In the midst of this heaviness, and you understand what I mean by that, we were invited to take a card from Tricia Hershey's Rest Deck, which is kind of like an intention card, if you used those before. It's a set of intentions to rest as an act of resistance. We each took a card. Here's mine. It's on the screen, a picture of me holding it. It says, I am free, I am rested, I am well cared for, I am well. So we each were invited to take a card and consider what that card was asking of us before pairing up with another person to discuss what it was arising in us. So I took my card and I went out to this grassy spot in the courtyard of this Catholic retreat center. And as I was sitting down, I noticed that in a grassy spot, maybe 2 walkways away, the sprinklers were on. And I decided in that moment to sit on that piece of grass I had chosen, no matter the outcome, knowing full well that there's a 50% chance the rotation of sprinklers is coming my way. The risk of sitting down and deciding to stay there felt exciting. Now, just as soon as I made this decision, a colleague, a friend, came over and laid down next to me on the grass. And I explained to her that I had just noticed these sprinklers and that no matter the outcome, I was going to stay here, stay the course. And she agreed to take this small risk with me with a smile. So we laid down next to each other, discussing self-care and the difficulties of finding space for true rest in the hustle of young motherhood. And then, as we were, knee-deep in conversation, we heard them. The sprinklers, and they were definitely closer this time. So as those pods rose up from the ground, almost immediately they began spraying water everywhere, including all over us. And as we lay there, full bodies facing the sky, we started to giggle softly, and then a little louder. And then it was uncontrollable. Giggling, laughter. Laughter took control of our bodies. The concerns I had about wet clothing and any modicum of professionalism in this Catholic retreat center were washed away. With laughter as our medicine, we became one with joy. I I can't tell you how much I needed that moment of joy that week, this month, this season, this year. I needed that reminder in my bones that there is nothing I have to do to feel joy. I just have to be sometimes, to be still, to be human, to be feeling, to be resting, to be laughing, to be exactly as I am in a place of safety and comfort. So when was the last time that joy was all you felt? Maybe for you, your moment of joy was not laying in sprinklers. Maybe it will be now. Maybe it was meeting a friend, going for a walk, watching a great show or movie, spending time with a grandchild or beloved pet. Maybe your moment of joy happened over the stovetop, in the garden, at the dinner table, over a hot cup of something. Maybe your moment of joy happened here at church, in worship and social hour, in choir rehearsal and a meeting, or just on campus, passing by another person and seeing them and being seen. When was the last time that joy was all you felt, if even for a moment? The poet William Blake once wrote, It is right, it should be so. Man was made for joy and woe. And when this we rightly know, through the world we safely go. Joy and woe are woven fine, a clothing for the soul divine. Under every grief and pine runs a joy with silken twine. I would alter Blake's words slightly and say, we were made for joy and woe. We were made for joy and woe. I found those words as I was flipping through our hymnal a few weeks ago. I stumbled upon them and realized that that day, that week, that month, that season, that year, this was the reminder I needed, that we are made for joy and woe. There is a lot to feel woe about in our world, right? There's a lot of sadness, a lot of fear, a lot of anger, a lot of despair in our country and our world. These are real feelings. I'm not encouraging you to let go of them. They are here. We can hold and move through them. And also this reminder that we are not only made for grief, for woe, for despair. We were made for joy. You and I and all of us were made, programmed, created in order to feel joy, beauty, peace, and love. These days, I think we need that reminder of the both and of Blake's words. Which is why this stewardship season, we are inviting you to consider the ways that you feel and are joy at UUCT. Because in the midst of everything, this place is growing more and more essential, possibly than ever in its 75-year history. This place that is standing against tyranny, that positions itself against fascism, that supports all who are willing to resist authoritarianism and oppression. This place that in the midst of everything is cultivating love and hope and peace and, yes, joy. We need this place to survive, and we need this place to survive, and we need this place to survive. In these days, we are intentionally focusing on joy, because joy is not just a frivolous thing that you feel in sprinklers, but also an act of resistance. What do I mean by that? I think my colleague, Reverend Micah Busey, says it better than I can. This is their words, a prayer to this disaster. You are trying to kill our joy, but you have no idea how strong disaster makes us. Joy is permanent, not temporary or erasable, as it seems civil rights are. Joy is sturdy, not weak and shifty, as it seems our leaders are. Joy is deep, not shallow and fleeting, as it seems our democracy is. You are trying to kill our joy, but we are a country of first responders, and deep in our souls, we've already begun the triage to staunch this tragic flow, even as the shock of you gives us temporary amnesia. Joy is not happiness, and if it were, we'd be up a creek. Joy is the confidence that as we sit frozen in fear today, our memories are coming back to remind us that we do not give up on joy or rights or one another's lives without a fight. In the face of disaster, as Saint Mr. Rogers said, we look for the helpers, and in the midst of the search, we become them. Joy is the sustenance we need for this fight for our lives, the lives of our neighbors, the livelihoods of our communities, and the future of our country. Joy connects us to the struggles of our ancestors and the hope of our children. Joy feeds us, nourishes us, bolsters us. In the face of so much upheaval, restriction, oppression, fear, and hatred, we are saying no to all that gives fuel to those fires. And we are saying yes to joy, which is saying yes to community, yes to dignity, yes to worthiness, yes to justice, and yes to love. Here in these times, when there is all too much to despair, we exist, UUCT exists to remind you and all who come through our doors that we were made for grief and we were made for joy. And these days, when our plates of grief are overflowing, there is another plate waiting to be filled with joy to fuel your work in the days ahead. Come eat, friends. Partake of this joy. We are going to need you and this place well-nourished for the struggle ahead. And our next song we're going to hear on a video. Sink in, sing along if you feel inspired.
We are stronger than our pain. We are greater than our fear. We are made of each I am, and we choose where we stand. Don't you let no pain and fear strike you up. Don't you let no pain and anger greater than our fear. We honor your pain, made of each I am. We choose who you are, where we stand. You can stand for peace and justice, choose for peace. You can stand for creating what you stand to see. There is power in each I am. We choose who you are, where we stand.
Hello, 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 hello. Close enough, close enough. All right, hi. My name is Francis Prevost. I serve this community as the Stewardship Committee Chair. Yeah. We need one, right? And before you wonder too much about that, my accent is French. I was born and raised there. I am a US citizen. I've been in the United States for almost 20 years. Okay, no, that's out of the way, okay? When it came to consider pledging for the 25-26 pledge campaign, my wife and I had to consider our current situation that is not the best we've ever been in. I lost my job 6 months ago and our income was cut in half, so we were just, okay, let's cut our expenses, and unfortunately, donations were on the side of expenses. And we didn't feel good about it. We were pretty sad about it because we really like this community. We like the people here. We like the ministers. We like the worship associates. And we are getting more and more involved. I'm in a couple groups. My wife is teaching OWL. And we really hope that we can help all of you here having an impact on people in needs or children that are growing up and need some tools to be strong enough to go through their entire life, which is how. And then the stewardship committee came up with that idea of looking at the pledge increase, and 10% is great, and 15% is even amazing, and then 20% is dream, and that was bad for us because we are dreamers. We really hope that we can change the world, or at least help a few people here and there, and the word dream just hit a chord. So we had to reconsider it, and I went to my wife and I said, I think we need to dream. And yeah, we decided to increase our pledge by 20%. So instead of cutting it, we're just increasing it. And instead of feeling sad as we were feeling before considering cutting the pledge, we actually felt really good. It's a bit crazy, definitely. Increase our pledge. So it is a little bit crazy, but I think that either the craziness or the idea of having a larger impact by really helped us feel good about it and even joyful. You could see it on our smiles when we made that decision. It is uncomfortable, and there can be a lot of joy in discomfort. You know, when you stretch your comfort zone, like me right now here, when you decide to pledge more than you thought at the beginning, not. There is a lot of joy in that kind of discomfort, and I hope that you can find your joy and in your discomfort, and that you can join us and dream with us. Thank you.
Our story is called Neela's Perfect Coat, written by Noreen Paulson and illustrated by Maria Mola. Neela loved treasure hunting. Whenever she outgrew her shirts or jeans or coats, she and her mom headed to the thrift store. You never know what treasures you'll find if you dig long enough, Mom always said. And dig they did, through shelves of books, board games and puzzles, bins of stuffed animals, and racks of color-tagged clothes. Some gently worn, others like new. It's so warm, said Neela, and fits perfectly. You don't need another coat, said Mom. Last year's fits you fine for now. Neela's heart sank. Last year's coat. The coat with the tricky zipper and the well-worn trim. Please, Mama, I still have some of the money Daddy gave me for my birthday. Mom sighed. Put the coat back, Neela. I'll let you and your dad decide together. On the way home, all Neela could think about was the puffy, brightly colored coat with its easy glides zipper. In the morning, Neela rushed out the door before Mom could remind her to take her coat. On the bus, Neela was the only one not wearing a coat. Until Lily's stop. When Lily glanced her way, Neela smiled, but Lily looked away. Without coats, Neela and Lily had to stay inside for recess. Neela asked Lily if she wanted to play a game, but Lily wanted to color. By herself. When the bell rang at the end of the day, Mr. Hawthorne said, "Remember your coats on Monday, girls, if you want to go out for recess." Neela gave a thumbs up. Lily kept her head down and shuffled out the door. On Saturday, when Dad picked Neela up for the weekend, she had her birthday money tucked in the pocket of her old coat. "Can we stop at the thrift store?" she asked. "I want to buy something with my birthday money, but Mom said to ask you first." Hopefully the coat was still there. It was. Do you really need 2 coats? Asked Dad. No, but I really want this one, she said as she twirled around in front of the mirror. Dad looked at her and smiled. You decide. At the checkout, Neela handed the cashier $8 and skipped out the door with the thrift store coat stuffed in a large shopping bag. On the drive home on Sunday, Neela noticed a for sale sign in Lily's front yard. Lily's moving? She asked. Dad said her family's going through a hard time. Neela wasn't sure what Dad meant, but now all she could think about was Lily in her too big sweatshirt coloring by herself. By the time she got home, her new coat didn't shine quite so brightly, at least not hanging next to her old coat, which Neela knew did still fit her just fine. At dinner, Neela pushed her pasta around her plate. She didn't feel like eating. Finally, she said, I don't think Lily has a winter coat. You don't? Mom asked. No. And then Neela told Mom all about Lily's too big sweatshirt and how sad Lily seemed. And now I have 2 coats, so I was thinking. Mom gave Neela a quick hug. I like what you're thinking. I'll call Lily's mom and see what she says. Let's go. And when the recess bell rang on Monday, everyone went outside.
One Sunday each month is designated as Share the Plate Sunday, on which we give half of the non-pledge collection to a community organization whose mission we support. Generosity is a spiritual practice, and Share the Plate is an expression of our mission. Our Share the Plate recipient this month is Read Between the Bars. Half the amount of all checks made out to UUCT that have Share the Plate written in the memo line, as well as half of all cash donations, will go to Read Between the Bars. If Share the Plate is not written in your check's memo line, it will not be included. If you are joining us virtually, you can send a check to the church office with Share the Plate in the memo, or give online at uuctucson.org/donate. If you give online, be sure to indicate that your donation is for Share the Plate. Read Between the Bars is a non-hierarchical, volunteer-run organization in Tucson that was established in March 2007. It focuses on getting free books into the hands of people incarcerated in the state of Arizona. This from their website. Our simple philosophy is that a book can change a life. It can give a respite from the tedium of prison, teach new skills, and open up interests in fields that can benefit the individual now and when they exit prison. As allies to people in prison, we work to provide educational and entertainment materials. Our organization strives to inform our community of the toll that the prison industrial complex imposes on the incarcerated, their families, and society as a whole. Locally, we serve as part of the global movement toward prison reform. This church is supported by the voluntary generosity of all who join with us. The offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation of our shared hopes and values. The ushers have baskets, and they will be coming around to collect your donations.
Morning. My name is Carolyn Valdez, and I'm on your board of trustees. It's one of my church volunteer activities. I would normally invite everyone to go to social hour right after the service, but today we're going to stay here instead for that short period that Reverend Bethany already alluded to, where we're going to hear more about why it's so important for us to pledge generously in our pledge campaign. Normally, we would be going out those doors and having some refreshments across the way, and there's a welcome center there too. If you're interested in that after that short announcement, the 10 to 15 minute talk, you can still go over there and do that. We're also having, as I think it was announced there, we're having a book sale by ministers of some really interesting or maybe boring books about religion, about our religion, religion in general, but a lot of great books, I'm sure. And it's $1 a book, and that goes straight to UUCT. After the short, the 10 to 15 minute talk by Frank Valdez, my husband, we're going to be having a workshop here, and it had it on the slide, but in case you missed it, it's called Love Resists Racism and Cruelty. You will learn how you can legally help protect the basic human rights of our immigrant neighbors. Step 1 is to attend the training. That's from 12:30 to 2 p.m. today in the sanctuary. It will be led by an ACLU immigration attorney, John Mitchell. Other congregations will be joining us for this training. It's sponsored by Derechos Humanos and our Social Justice Council. Also, the board is issuing a call for GA delegates. That's General Assembly, our national conference that we have every year. It's going to be in person and online in Baltimore. So tomorrow we're going to be receiving an email with a link for application for those positions. There are going to be 4 members of the congregation serving as our voting delegates. If you have questions, see Carolyn Saunders and Goddard after the service. And my last announcement was also up on the screen. Every year we host the Hala for Gaza fundraiser. It's sponsored by the Tucson WILPH, which stands for Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. The proceeds benefit MECA, M-E-C-A, which stands for the Middle East Children's Alliance, an organization which gives emergency assistance to help Palestinians survive. A delicious French toast lunch will be served from 11:30 to 1, with all costs being covered by WILF. The suggested minimum donation of $20 will all go to Mecca. That's next Sunday, March 16th. So please join us in supporting that group. Thank you.
Please join me in singing the gratitude song. We are grateful for the opportunity for gifts. The words will be on the screen, and I got to look at them too. We are grateful for community, for gifts we share, how we show our love and care with thinking minds and helping hands. We'll build a place where love and hope expand. Thank you. And here they come.
I'm on. as they get settled, oh, we got a lot today. You can sit in the if you would like. So, one of the values, probably, one of the values of Unitarian Universalism that our adults have heard about today is generosity. Who can give me a definition of generosity? Got a definition of generosity? Say it. Caring for others. Kind of similar to respect. Makes sense to me. I've got a hand in the back. Definition of generosity or just a big stretch? To give without expectation. Beautiful. Love these definitions. Whatever your definition is, generosity leads us to feel grateful and hopeful as we lean into it. Generosity is not just about sharing our resources, but also sharing our beliefs and our presence with those who need it most out in the world. And generosity reminds us that we are all connected to one another in interdependent and mutually impactful relationships. What would it mean to be in a mutually impactful relationship? What does it mean if you're both having an influence on each other? Joy. What else might it mean to be in a relationship where you're both respected? Safety. Interdependence. Caring. Love. Empathy. Takes a lot of work. Yes. So when we ask ourselves, what are the best reminders that we can share with each other about our independence with each other? There was only one answer. There's only one answer we came up with, and that was glitter, obviously. Because once you open a bottle of glitter, that glitter is everywhere. You might as well just throw it out because you know it's going to get there no matter what. It is impossible to keep glitter to yourself. Glitter cannot be hoarded. Glitter is shared with